New numbers from the Census Bureau show the U.S. population is older than it's ever been, with the nation's median age now over 38. William Brangham explains how an older America could pose significant challenges for the economy, workforce, and social programs in the years to come.
In about a third of states, more than half of the population is older than 40. Maine had the highest median age of 44.8 years, and Utah is our youngest state, with a median age of 31.9 years. As the share of older Americans continues to rise, the need for benefits and assistance from Medicare and Social Security will grow. And at the same time, an aging workforce could cause worker shortages in the years to come.
While the U.S. economy continues to grow, inflation is still very high in certain sectors. In some markets, the rent and home prices are still unaffordable to the middle class. Car insurance and homeowners insurance continue to rise in many areas. The childcare costs, like this article says, are so much more expensive from the pre-pandemic level. My daughter was in childcare when she was between 1 and 4 years old until she went to kindergarten. And I remember how expensive it was for me at the time as a single father. But it wasn't as expensive as it is now, which has tripled the cost from 2018. And this is one of the contributing factors to the declining birth rate. And the declining birth rate is actually not a good thing for our future economy. And according to the Bank of America survey, the average US couples with 2 kids spend over 30% of their income on childcare. This is absolutely insane because childcare costs are so high. Many women are leaving the workforce to become stay-at-home mothers. And people like single parents or dual income parents who don't have a choice but to enroll in the childcare program are financially suffering, which prevents them from saving money or investing in their retirement. Childcare in the US has become so expensive because of how many staff members are required to be present for the number of toddlers or infants at a time. The labor cost has also gone up, right? So those childcare employers have to pay the staff more money on payroll. And when I dig a little deeper into this issue, these childcare employers are barely making it because they're not making as much profit like they used to. They have to pay a higher insurance fee for the daycare center because of the risk of having smaller children. And it's much more expensive to maintain their facilities, purchase supplies, and acquire equipment. And many experts believe that the federal government needs to pour more money into the childcare system. By the way, did you know that over 50% of Americans who make over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck? So is it always an income problem or a spending problem? If you're having trouble figuring out your budget, I encourage you to download a budget app called YNAB. YNAB stands for You Need a Budget. That's right. Whether you make $50,000 a year or $200,000 a year, every one of you needs to create a budget to achieve financial independence. You need to give every dollar a job so that you can be more intentional with your savings and spending. You can get a free trial without any credit card information by using the link in the description below. So let me draw something here. I want to show you this because this is actually very, very important that a lot of people actually don't realize. So let's say the government doesn't step in at all, and we continue to have a declining birth rate, okay? So this is me, and I'm working, right? And it's not, and let's say there's a retiree. Terrible handwriting, I know, don't judge me, okay? But it's not a good thing to have an aging population, which is what's been happening in countries like Japan and South Korea. The government will have reduced tax revenue from people leaving the workforce to stay home with their kids. And there are many baby boomers who rely on the Social Security program to pay for their bills. But if we have a decline in workers, Social Security could eventually completely become financially insolvent because they don't have enough payroll taxes coming in. The government knows this, but nobody has really paid attention to the declining birth rate until about the last 20 years. And as of 2024, we still don't have enough workers to fill all the jobs. In 1950, the worker-to-retiree ratio was 16 to 1, right? That was right after World War II. In 1960, it was 5 to 1, okay? And right now, we're about 2.9 to 1 retiree. And by 2025, this is going to go to about 2 to 1. Okay. So it's going to be about 2 to 1 worker to retiree ratio. Not to mention that retirees are surviving a lot longer than the previous generations, right? So every time I am working, half of my dollar goes into the retiree and the other half goes into disability. Okay, there's Social Security disability. So every dollar I contribute to Social Security fund, it's not coming back to me. It's actually going to the retirees or Social Security disability fund. Okay, so that's how it works. It's weird. I get it. All right. So the declining birth rate and higher cost of childcare are probably two of the largest, not the largest, but two of the contributing factors to our overall economic condition. And there are so many other things that I haven't touched on, but here are some potential solutions for these problems. First, both the state and federal governments need to step in and to start investing in childcare programs to reduce their costs. But is that going to encourage people to have more kids? Probably not right away, right? Second, they could relax some of the regulations to require how many staff members are in every childcare center, but there's a safety risk of doing that, right? Or third, they could start incentivizing families to have kids like some of the European countries do. But we're not a small country like those European countries. Our government is not structured that way. It's going to have to be state dependent, more likely, instead of relying on the federal government. You could even ask your employer to work from home for 1 or 2 days a week, if you really need to save money on it, to reduce your childcare costs. If they don't allow remote work, ask your employer if they offer any type of childcare assistance. And if your employer offers what's called a dependent care FSA or a flexible spending account, you could pay for your childcare expenses in pre-tax dollars instead of after-tax dollars. And I've been using the dependent care FSA for a while, and it's saving me about 24% by doing that. And I have a video about that on my channel, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't done it already. And you can also schedule your first session with me by visiting firesidechat.com/coaching to talk about your current financial situation. And this is why we're seeing many companies developing AI products and services so that they don't need as many humans to do the work. But there's also going to lead to a smaller labor force. We're not seeing that right now, but we will, which is why many politicians are talking about universal basic income. And I think that's a little premature, right? And I think the UBI concept will become a much bigger reality once artificial intelligence is fully integrated into our society. But at the moment, right now, if Congress doesn't do anything about the Social Security program, whether you like it or not, there's going to be a crisis for future retirees. And wage growth continues to be one of the contributing factors to the current inflation rate. And there's no doubt about that. Even if the government starts handing out money to have more kids, it's going to take some time to get back to the level we once were. And this is why many millennials and the younger generations are not relying on Social Security to exist when they retire. I'm not. And I know this is a controversial topic, but I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section.